Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 4 college football rankings. So, starting off by briefly recapping last week's rankings and what those teams did in Week 3. Last week at number 10, I had Illinois. They easily beat Western Michigan 38-0. Ninth, I had Clemson. They were upset by Georgia Tech, losing 24-21. 8th was Notre Dame. They lost to Texas A&M 41-40. 7th was Georgia. They knocked off Tennessee 44-41. 6th was Texas. They beat UTEP 27-10. 5, I had Oregon. They beat Northwestern 34-14. 4th was Miami. They dominated South Florida 49-12. 3rd was LSU. They beat Florida 20-10. 2nd, I had Penn State. They destroyed Villanova 52-6. And 1st was Ohio State. They easily beat Ohio 37-9. But getting into this week's rankings, beginning things at number 10, I've got Oklahoma. So deciding on a team for this number 10 spot was tough, especially with teams outside the top 10 like South Carolina who lost. But I decided to go with Oklahoma here. And they beat Temple easily 42-3. And this was a good easy win for Oklahoma. The offense played well with 42 points, and quarterback John Mateer looked good with 282 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And he also had 63 yards and another touchdown on the ground. And Oklahoma as a team, they ran the ball extremely effectively, rushing for 228 yards and 4 touchdowns. Then defensively for Oklahoma, they held Temple to just 3 points and 105 total yards. But after a good performance for Oklahoma, they come in at number 10. Coming in at number 9, I've got Texas A&M. So A&M is another team that moves into my top 10, as they're in at number 9 after a big win over Notre Dame, 41-40. And this was a good game for Texas A&M. Their offense was good with 40 points, and quarterback Marcel Reed had a very interesting game, as he completed just 17 of his 37 passes, but he had 360 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And 207 of those yards went to receiver Mario Craver, who finished with 7 catches for 207 yards and a touchdown. Now, I think a big reason why Marcel Reed had just 17 completions but for 360 yards was how bad the Notre Dame defense was, because they were not good and consistently left wide receivers wide open. But I still think this was a good game for the Texas A&M offense. Now, the defense for A&M wasn't great. They led 40 points and 429 yards, but they were still good enough to get the win. But this was a big win for Texas A&M. It's their first road win against a top 10 team since 2014, and I've got Texas A&M at number 9. 8th, I've got Illinois. So Illinois, they move up a couple spots to number 8 after they beat Western Michigan 38-0. They get off to a slow start, leading just 10-0 at the half, but they are much better in the second half, 14 points in the third quarter and 14 points in the fourth quarter. But the offense for Illinois was good. At quarterback Luke Altmaier had 3 total touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground, and that was a part of 3 rushing touchdowns Illinois had as a team. And then the defense for Illinois, they played well. They had a shutout, got 3 sacks, and this was a pretty easy win for Illinois. I've got them at number 8. 7th, I've got Texas. So I have Texas falling a spot from number 6 to number 7 after they beat UTEP 27-10. And this was not a good game for Texas. Their offense was okay, and Arch Manning really struggled, as he went just 11 of 25 for 114 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Now, he did run for 2 scores, but with how he looked as a passer, that is very concerning. And it's not even like there's an excuse this time. It's not like he played Ohio State on the road. This time, he was at home against UTEP, so that is a major concern for this Texas offense. Now, the pass game was not good. The run game was pretty good for Texas, with 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Texas was also great, allowing just 10 points and forcing 2 turnovers. But I am starting to worry about this Texas offense and Arch Manning, and that could be a problem moving forward if they can't figure things out. But they were still able to win by 17, so I do have them at number 7, but I do have them falling from number 6 to number 7. 6th, I've got Oregon. So Oregon's at number 6 after they beat Northwestern 34-14. And this was another good game for Oregon. They didn't put up 69 points like last week, but they still played well. Quarterback Dante Moore had another good game, and even though his numbers aren't anything too impressive, he still played pretty well, as he had 178 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And Oregon, they also ran the ball very effectively, with 176 yards and 3 scores on 5.9 yards per carry. And then the defense for Oregon, they were also great, not allowing any points until garbage time. But this was another good, easy win for Oregon, and I've got them at number 6. 5th, I've got Georgia. So Georgia moves up to number 5 after a big 44-41 win over Tennessee in overtime. And this was a good win for Georgia. They didn't play their best game, but they still went on the road and they beat a good Tennessee team. Georgia, they got off to a slow start, trailing 21-7 at the end of the first quarter, but they kept themselves in the game, forced overtime, and then eventually won in overtime. Although Georgia, they are pretty lucky that Tennessee missed that field goal at the end of regulation. But the Georgia offense, they played pretty well. Gunnar Stockton threw for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And I'm still not the biggest Gunnar Stockton fan, although he did play pretty well. And then Georgia, they also ran the ball effectively with 198 yards and 3 touchdowns, despite averaging under 4 yards per carry. Now, the defense for Georgia wasn't great, allowing 41 points and nearly 500 yards, but they forced a couple turnovers, got some big stops when needed, and Georgia, this is a good win for them on the road, and I've got them at number 5. Fourth, I've got LSU. So LSU comes in at number 4 after they beat Florida 20-10. And this was a solid win for LSU. Now, I am starting to get a little worried about their offense because they put up just 20 points this week, although really 13 when you factor in the fact they had a pick 6. And I'm worried about their offense because they scored just 13 offensive points this week. They scored just 23 last week against Louisiana Tech, and they scored just 17 in week 1. And that could be a problem for LSU moving forward. Now, the defense for LSU, they played pretty well. They allowed just 10 points, got 3 sacks, and picked off DJ Lagway 5 times, returning one of them for a touchdown. But it's still a good win for LSU, not great, but they enter at number 4. Third, I have Penn State. So Penn State is at number 3 after they easily beat Villanova 52-6. The offense for Penn State was good, although quarterback Drew Allar had another less than impressive game, throwing for 209 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And in Penn State's 3 games so far this year, against not very hard competition, against Nevada, FIU, and Villanova, Drew Allar is averaging just 208 yards per game. Now, outside of Drew Allar, Penn State's offense was good, as they ran for 237 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then the defense for Penn State, they had another good performance, allowing just 6 points, 180 total yards, and they also forced 2 turnovers and returned one of them for a touchdown. But an easy win for Penn State over a lower level team, and they're at number 3. Second, I have Miami. So I have Miami moving from number 4 to number 2 after they easily beat South Florida 49-12. And the reason I'm moving Miami up is LSU and Penn State haven't been very impressive over the past couple weeks, plus Miami just demolished a top 20 team. But Miami, they played well. Their offense was great, and Carson Beck threw for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, although he did throw 2 interceptions. And in Miami, they also ran the ball very effectively with 205 yards and 4 scores on the ground. Then defensively for Miami, they were also great. They allowed just 12 points and didn't let South Florida get anything going, especially on the ground. But this was a good game for Miami. They dominated a good South Florida team, and I've got Miami moving up to number 2. And coming in at number 1, I've got Ohio State. So Ohio State, they remain at number 1 after they beat Ohio 37-9. They got off to a little bit of a slow start, losing just 13-3 at the half and 13-9 early in the third quarter. But then Ohio State woke up, and they dominated the rest of the game. Quarterback Julian Sain finished the game with 347 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And receiver Jeremiah Smith had a huge game, with 9 catches for 153 yards and a touchdown. And then their other receiver, Carnell Tate, also had a big game, with 101 yards and a touchdown on 5 catches. And then Ohio State, they also ran the ball extremely effectively, with 7.5 yards per carry, and had 226 yards and a touchdown. Then the defense for Ohio State, they were also great. They held Ohio to just 9 points, 181 total yards, and also got 4 sacks. But a good win over Ohio, and Ohio State, they remain at number 1. And here are my updated college football playoff predictions, and there's a lot of changes after a lot happened this week. My 1 seed remains Ohio State, 13-0, winning the Big Ten. My 2 seed, I have Georgia, 13-0, winning the SEC. I'm still not sold on Georgia as an elite team, but with how the rest of their schedule looks and how some of those teams on their schedule haven't looked great to this point in the season, I have a hard time finding a loss in the schedule, so I do have Georgia going 13-0, winning the SEC. The 3 seed, I have Miami, 12-1, winning the ACC. My 4 seed is LSU, the SEC runner-up, finishing 11-2. 5 seed is Penn State, 11-2, the Big Ten runner-up. 6 seed, I have Iowa State at 12-1, the Big 12 champion. 7 seed, I have Oregon at 11-1. 8 seed, I have Texas at 10-2. My 9 seed, I have Alabama at 10-2. My 10 seed, I have Texas A&M at 10-2. My 11 seed, I have Georgia Tech at 10-3. And the 11th seed was tough to figure out because I was between 3 teams for this 11th seed. Either Georgia Tech at 10-3, losing in the ACC Conference Championship game, Illinois at 10-2, or Notre Dame at 10-2. And I definitely still think Notre Dame can make the playoff. It's a lot harder after they're now 0-2, but it's still possible. But I decided to go with Georgia Tech because they'll probably be ranked pretty high, and the committee doesn't like to punish teams for losing conference championships. And then my 12 seed, I have the Group of 5 conference champion, and that is Tulane. But those are my Week 4 college football rankings and my updated college football playoff predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.